All right, gang, check it out. So today we're going to be going over this brand new release power station from OUPES. This is the Mega 2. This is a 2048 watt hour lithium iron phosphate power station with a 2500 watt pure sine inverter built into it, and this is part of their lineup of their Mega series. So this is kind of their lowest or smallest Mega series that they offer. They have a Mega 3, 4, and 5 that are much bigger, that are actually on wheels with the luggage rack. So before we get in depth, let me just go ahead and say, if you want to finish watching this video, I have been impressed with this power station. You folks know that I've had a couple here in the shop that have done terrible, and I've let you know. This one has done really well. So with that, let's move forward and let's talk about some of the features of this power station, and I'll show you some of the ports on the front and what this thing's all about. And some of the ports that you're going to get, and my most favorite is this right here. This is a 12 volt 30 amp output with an Anderson connection. This is awesome for RVs, or if you have a lot of DC appliances that you want to run and only have to plug into one source. This is fantastic, this 30 amp output. I love it. So you get that, you get two 100 watt output USB-Cs. You're going to have four USB-A quick charge 3.0 ports. You get four 110 AC outlets. And the other cool thing, you get a dedicated 30 amp RV output. So this is great, again, if you have an RV. It's not going to run a big air conditioning unit or anything, but if you just have to maybe run like your converter to charge your batteries or whatever, this could do it. So 30 amp output, you got a 12 volt, 10 amp cigarette style output, and then a couple of 55, 25, I believe, DC outputs as well over here on the side. And this unit is expandable, so you can get some expansion batteries and they plug in to the side just like that. I don't have any of the expansion batteries, but this is expandable. And then this is gonna be your input side. So this thing will take 2100 watts worth of solar. So right here you got an Anderson input, and it accepts 12 to 150 volts or 15 amps worth of solar through that Anderson input right there. And then you've got your standard AC input right there with a little dedicated circuit breaker right there. Okay, so that's kind of the boring stuff on this power station. OUPES is releasing this power station today for around $1,400. I think it's like $1,300 and some change. So that brings the price point of this unit down to around 54 or 55 cents per watt hour, which is much lower than some of its close competitors in this size range, like the EcoFlow Delta 2, some of the Bluetti AC200 options. It's a lot cheaper than those particular models. Now, it's Black Friday month, pretty much all month for some of these things. So you're gonna see a ton of sales on all of these power stations. Let me talk to you about the AC charging. So this does have fast charge built into it. So when you plug this into the wall outlet, you're gonna get 1600 watts worth of charging juice to fill up these batteries. That's great, but sometimes you don't always want 1600 watts. You want to kind of preserve some of these batteries inside. So if you charge at a lesser rate, you're gonna prolong the life out of these batteries. So you can see here from this clip, I have it plugged into the wall. I'm getting around 1350-ish watts, and that's simply because my battery in here was already around 97%. So it was kind of throttling down. But there is a way to change the amount of wattage you're pulling out of your wall on this unit to accept only around 800 watts. So you just have to hit the DC power button and the IoT button for about 3 to 5 seconds. That will cut off the fast charge and enable the slow charge, what they're calling slow charge, but it's still 800 watts. This thing also takes 2100 watts worth of solar input. So you can combine 1600 watts from the wall, 2100 watts from solar panels, and charge this thing up in literally about 30 minutes. It does have an app, so you can remotely log into this power station and monitor the capacity, the current usage, the time till empty. I will say it's a little bit bare bones for right now. I don't know if they're going to update the app, but you can update the firmware and you can monitor what the battery is sitting at. So that's great if you're using this in an RV, like in the underbelly or in the storage compartment. You don't have to get outside the RV to go see what the battery capacity is. You can log into it from your phone and check to see, how much longer you're going to have to use this thing before you have to recharge it. And last but not least, if you do pick this thing up, you're going to get a couple of things. Of course, your manuals, yada, yada. You're going to get a couple of really nice cables, to be honest with you. So here you've got a really thick gauge Anderson to Anderson. So this can be used to input into your solar, depending on whatever solar panel you have, if it has an Anderson output, whatever. But they do give you an Anderson to Anderson cable. They give you an Anderson to DC cable, so you can charge this up from your car. Now, depending on what your car 12 volt output is, you'll probably get maybe 10 amps. So you're only going to get around 100 to 120 watts out of your vehicle to charge this unit up. So that's going to take a long time. But if you got a 9-hour road trip, this should help. And then you have an Anderson to 5525 DC connection. And these are all to kind of help you connect to a solar panel, because solar panels are so different. All the connections are different, but you should have the cabling that you'll need to connect to whatever solar panel that you have. So let's switch gears, and I'm just going to start showing you some video clips of some of the testing that I've done on this, and we'll come back in and check in when that's all done. So to begin the DC capacity test, I do have my meter completely zeroed out, so we're starting from scratch. I'm going to plug it into the 12-volt output, get this turned on. Battery is at 100%. And this is a 10 amp circuit, so we're gonna knock this thing up to 10 amps. I'd say that's close enough, 9.94 amps. And this is gonna take a while, so I will check back in when these 2048 watt hours are depleted. All right, well, DC capacity test is complete. We are completely dead, and I was able to pull out of this thing 1,564 watt hours, which, without doing the math here, is approximately around 85%, which is kind of industry average, so not too bad on a power station of this size. So I'm gonna get this thing topped off, and we're gonna do an AC discharge test. AC discharge test, folks. Okay, so we are at 100% battery. My kilowatt meter is zeroed out. It's probably hard to make out, but it is at 0. So we're gonna run my incandescent light array, and that should probably give us around about 371 watts. So we'll come back and see what we can pull out of this battery on the AC side. AC discharge test is complete. We are completely dead, so let me unplug this watt meter, and we're gonna plug it into a home outlet and see what we ended up getting. So a little bit better on the AC. We got 1,867 watt hours pulled out of the 2,048 watt hours built into this OUPES. So 1,500 approximately for DC discharge and 1,867 watt hours for the AC discharge test. So this OUPES has a 2,500 watt continuous running pure sine inverter, so let's give this a shot. I've got 3 space heaters on this side and an incandescent light bulb array over here off camera that you can't see in case we need that to get up to 2,500 watts. So AC inverter's cut on. Let's start turning these heaters on and keep an eye on the wattage. That bumps up really fast to 1,800 watts. Let's kick this middle one on. That's going to put us up to around 2,200. Kick this last one on. And we're 2,400. The fans are going on this unit. It's not crazy loud, but it's hard to decipher between the heaters and the fan on the actual power station. But we're kind of settling down to around 2,350 watts. And that's slowly going to start going down when these heaters warm up. So, like I figured, let me hook up my little light bulb array to give us hopefully around 2,500 watts. Yep, and we tripped it. So it doesn't take much over 2,500 watts to trip this thing. So let me unplug this. All right. Big heater again. 1,400-ish watts. Middle heater is going to get us to about 2,200. Well, actually we're down to about 1,800 now. We can cut this third heater on. Okay, so that's running comfortably 2,360 watts. That is a lot of wattage to use. But I want to hook up my sine wave again on this, running a very heavy load, unlike the last test I did, to see how many volts we're actually pulling off of 2,300 watts. All right, we're about 110 volts now, and again, we are pulling 2,327 watts. Let's check the sine wave on it. Yeah, it's a little bit fuzzy, but there's no squares in the sine wave. So I'd say you're still getting a sine wave. Now again, this is pulling almost the maximum rated 2500 watts. We're at 2325 watts. And again, the fans are on. I can definitely feel it blowing out the side of this unit, but it's not overly loud. My microphone is right next to the fan, so it might seem worse than it actually is. And a decibel meter is not going to help because these actual heaters are loud. But I will say, if you're going to try to run anything over 2500 watts, it will trip itself off really quickly. So that surge rating is exactly what it is. This is surge rating for milliseconds, not for a long period of time. So just make sure that you're going to be running 2500 watts or less on this, and it seems to work just fine with that. Okay, so this does have a UPS feature built into it. It is not rated to, like, say, protect sensitive computer equipment or server racks or modems or anything like that, or keep computers running, because it's not quite fast enough. But to demonstrate how that works, I've got it currently plugged in to the wall via my AC cord. I've got my incandescent lights plugged into it, and I'm going to unplug it from the wall, and it's going to immediately or very quickly transfer power from the wall to the actual batteries inside this. So we're going to unplug it in 3, 2, 1. And you could barely catch the slight flicker of the lights. That's the 20 millisecond transfer from home grid AC power to the actual internal batteries in here. Okay, so I don't think this test is going to be any issue at all, but I'm going to do my cooler test. So we've got my 12 volt cooler here. I'm going to plug it into the OUPES over here. We're going to get the DC cut on. Going to cut the cooler on, set it to around 55 degrees. I'm going to hit my start, and we are currently at 100% battery, and we're going to check to see if this thing runs it for around 12 hours without shutting down. Well, gang, I'd say the cooler test has passed. The battery is still running. We are on 14 hours now, and that cooler is still on, as you can see by the lights. So I can pretty much for surely tell you that this power station will keep a 12 volt fridge running well overnight with no issues at all. All right, gang, well, we are going to start the solar testing on this power station. It is 8 a.m. in the morning. The sun is at a terrible angle, so this isn't really a review on the solar panel itself, but a lot of people like to see if this power station is completely off and I plug in the solar panel, will it kickstart it, will it start charging? So let me show you the setup. I've got a 400 watt all power solar panel hooked up. So I'm sitting on top of my truck. But I just want to show you what happens when I plug in the solar panel. So the power station is off. So I'm going to take the solar panel cable, plug it into the side, and this thing is rated at 12 to 150 volts. So this will accept a massive amount of solar panels in the number of around 2100 watts. So hopefully, yep, you can see here it did just cut on. And yeah, obviously we're not getting a lot of solar in here, 25, 30, 35, 40 watts maybe, but the power station did cut on and start charging itself via that solar panel out there. So one of the things about this power station that OUPES claims is that, you can do the 1600 watt AC charging, add on an additional 2100 watts of solar panels if you have that big of an array, and you can charge this power station in about half an hour from 0 to 100%. But it's good to see that the solar panel kicks on, starts this power station, it starts charging, and everything's going well. Now obviously, again, I'm not getting a lot of wattage off of that panel being 8 o'clock in the morning. The sun's extremely low in the sky. It's November, but it's not really a review on the solar panel. And yeah, I'm getting around 70 watts now. I know you can't see that probably, but just the fact that you can put up to 2100 watts into this power station kind of makes it a little bit more versatile if you have a larger solar array already set up that you need to use. So closing arguments for this OUPES Mega 2. I'm pretty impressed with it, to be honest. It performed well in all of its testing, and the current price point as of November 20th of, let's say, $1,400 brings it to around 54 to 55 cents per watt hour, which is lower than all of its competitors in this same size range, like your EcoFlow Delta 2s, your Blue Eddy AC 200s, those are a little bit more expensive, around $1,600 to $1,700. Now, I don't know what type of sales all these companies are going to have around Black Friday. Probably quite a few really good deals are to be had for all of these power stations this week and next week. But it did well on the capacity discharge testing, AC and DC, around industry average. Nothing great, nothing bad. So I'll give it a flying pass for that. The thing that I like most about this power station, and the reason that I used that Goal Zero Yeti behind me for so long, is mainly this 30 amp Anderson output. This little output is so handy if you're running an RV or if you're running a lot of DC appliances. You can literally connect them all together, splice them together, and get one Anderson connector, plug it in there, and this will power all of your DC appliances. I bet you would have a hard time getting 30 amps worth of DC coming out of this thing to all of your appliances. There's going to be some people to say that that's not true, but for pretty much anything that I need in my RV or my camping setup, this 30 amp output DC is absolutely perfect. And it means that I don't have to use all of these other USB ports, the power delivery ports, the USB-A ports. I just have one connection to go into that port up there, and it's just really useful. So that's probably my favorite feature on this power station, is that. And the fact, you know, if you do want to expand this, you can. You got to go buy the extra batteries. But other than that, folks, OUPES has been around for a while. They're not brand new. I've had two of their other power stations in the past, and they've worked well. And I think this is going to be a kind of a good offering in the lower tier of their Mega series with their Mega 3, 4, and 5s that are much bigger in terms of capacity and inverter strength. This is kind of at the lower end of the size range of that Mega series, and it's easier to handle, it's easier to move, it's not quite as heavy. I do like that it has a flat top. I don't think I mentioned that, so you can put things on top of this. It doesn't have a wireless charging pad up top. I do kind of like those, but some of them I find I have to take my phone case off for it to actually connect. I'm not overly disappointed it doesn't have it, especially for 1,400 bucks, but it doesn't have a wireless charging pad. And if you folks really enjoy having lights on your power station, this doesn't have a light. I could care less about having a light on a power station because I've never used them, not even one time. That's about the only quirks I can find with this battery. It performed well. This is not a long-term review. I've had this for about 3.5, 4 weeks now and done quite a bit of testing on it, and I haven't seen anything that's going to throw up any red flags for me. So I'll probably actually keep this one around and put it through some more testing and some more paces out in our RV or on one of my camping episodes, just because I am pretty pleased with how it performs. So folks, I'm going to leave a link to the description down below. Again, I believe this is actually coming out today, the day of this video is being released. So go check out the link if you're interested. I'm not an affiliate of OUPES, so I'm not going to get a single dime if you go buy it. I don't want to do that, but I do want you to be able to find this easily if you did like it. So gang, this is the OUPES Mega 2, and hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, shoot me a comment. I will get back to you. And other than that, folks, we will see you soon. Take care.